The fishing news is brought to you by Interlux Marine Paint and also brought to you by Maxima Fishing Line.
Hey there, Toby Lapinski for the New England edition of the Fisherman magazine with this week's web video fishing forecast for New England. I just want to start things off by saying thanks to the Saltwater Lure Collectors Club for putting on an awesome show up in Bourne, Massachusetts this past weekend. And if you weren't able to make the show, for a look at some of the amazing lures that were on display, be sure you check out the story that I posted at thefisherman.com. Alright, we're going to move on into the reports. As always, we're going to start off in Connecticut, and there's lots of small stripers on up to about 40 inches being landed across Connecticut right now. For the most part, the better catches are still being made in and around the major rivers, but a 42-pounder was chunked up off of Stamford over the weekend, so the fish are moving out front. I myself poked around a few nights this week and found plenty of small bait, mostly peanut bunker, but only really small striped bass feeding on them so far. And both scup and black sea bass seasons opened on 5/1 in Connecticut, and while I haven't heard of anyone getting in on the bite just yet, I'm hearing of a bunch of boats planning to head out and sail for them this weekend. I know Capt Greg the Black Hawk, will be making his first trip on the Sound this Friday, with scup being the primary target. The spring bite on the New York side of the Sound, it always produced some really good-sized fish. And then on over in Rhode Island, there's still some cod poking around Block Island, but for the most part, the boats are either planning to or have already begun to target fluke, as that season opened on May 1st in Rhode Island. The early fluke reports that I've been hearing have been okay, but there's not really a lot of boats that have been hitting them or targeting them hard just yet. Word is the commercial guys with a slightly smaller minimum size limit have been doing all right, as they always do early on. I also got word that squid are just starting to show up off of South County, so we should see boats targeting them very soon, as well as improving the inshore fluke bite. And on the freshwater side of things in Rhode Island, this weekend's free fishing days across the state on May 6th and 7th come with a special treat this year. As you likely read about in the April issue of the Fisherman magazine, Rhode Island now stocks golden trout in select lakes and ponds across the state. Check out the news item at thefisherman.com for complete details on exactly where you might find one of these really cool and beautiful fish. And then up in Massachusetts, flounder season is beginning to ramp up in and around Boston Harbor, and Captain Jason Colby of Little Sister Charters had his first boat limit of the season on Tuesday this week. He said the bite started off kind of slow, but when it got going, it really took off. For example, one drift alone, they put 10 keeper flounder on the deck. And then out in the Gulf of Maine, the haddock season kicked off this Sunday with very good catches being reported. The early bite was okay each day, and it got off to a much better bite as the day progressed, and the boats have been seeing some pretty nice pollock to go along with their coolers of haddock. Remember that the new 2016 regulations for haddock within the Gulf of Maine allow for a 15 fish limit with a minimum length of 17 inches. Well, there you have it. I'm Toby Lapinski for the New England edition of the Fisherman magazine, wishing you tight lines if you head out onto the water this weekend.
The fishing news is brought to you by Interlux Marine Paint and also brought to you by Maxima Fishing Line.